Chapter 12. Daddy! Me and Georgie both screamed. We ran to him. Daddy looked up at us. He had a thin line of blood trickling down his forehead, and his glasses were missing from his face. Miss Shug shined the flashlight in Daddy's direction. She seen the blood streaming down the side of his face and went to hollerin'. The whole while she kept right on fanning herself with the tangerine hat, blinking her eyes a mile a minute. Uncle T-Bone looked at Georgie. Go calm Lorraine down. Me and Georgie looked at each other like maybe Uncle T-Bone was the one who got knocked in the head. Who's Lorraine? Shug, go calm down Miss Shug down. The woman was wailing louder than ever by now. My brother looked over at the woman so sweet they called her Sugar. No, sir, Georgie said, pushing his glasses firm up his nose. Daddy needs me. Georgie walked across the broken glass that was covered with stuck globs of sticky gray tape. He scooted past my uncle and put his arm around Daddy's waist. He helped Daddy get over to the sofa. A long-lasting flash of lightning lit up the room. In the white light that shined on my brother, I caught a glimpse of the way I think Georgie'll look when he's a grown man. He looked just like Daddy. The rain had let up and the lightning and thunder had rolled on out. It didn't take long to figure out what had caused that first loud cracking sound. The big oak tree from next door had come up out of the ground, roots and all, and slammed into the top of Daddy's truck. Ruined. The truck was forever ruined. I couldn't remember us not having that old truck. It was practically the only thing I'd ever ridden in except for my school bus. Daddy kept shaking his head back and forth. A couple times he said, "Thank God no one was killed." "Daddy," Georgie said, "what are we going to do?" "Well, son," he said, lifting his head and sitting a little taller, "the first thing we're going to do is make sure your mama knows that everything is going to be all right." "But, Daddy..." Georgie looked at the broken glass that was still catching light from the far-off lightning. Daddy stood up. I was happy to see him standing. I felt safer with him standing. He put one hand on Georgie's shoulder and his other hand on my shoulder. He looked at the two of us with soft eyes. "I need the two of you to help me clean up this mess so it doesn't upset your mama." "Yes, sir," we both said. "Good, because it's going to be a long night. I don't want your mama to worry more than she has to." I don't remember Daddy ever talking like that to us before, talking to us like we're grown. This must be what it's like when you make 10. I was all grown up, and to think the day before I had been just a child. Mama and her flashlight came around the corner and into the living room. She was toting Keelan on one hip and Kayla on the other. Mama stopped and looked at the broken window and the mess all over the room. Kayla slid down her leg and went running to Daddy. Mama's hand covered her mouth. Fear filled her eyes. "You're hurt." She went to Daddy and took his face into her hands. "I'm fine, Catherine. Are the children all right?" He smoothed her hair with his thumb. Meemaw came into the room. "Well, we might as well hunker down and get ready," she said to no one in particular. Then suddenly a huge gust of wind came blowing through the broken window. And just like that, the minute of calm was over. We all let out a gasp and covered our faces. "T-Bone!" Daddy hollered over the roar of the wind. "Help me find something to cover this window." Misty bits of rain moistened my skin. "Mr. Curtis!" Mama yelled. The panic in her voice caused the hair on the back of my neck to prickle. "My black velvet Jesus!" There, sitting all cockeyed on the wall next to the broke-out window, was Mama's pride and joy. A huge black velvet painting of brown Jesus himself. No matter where you walked in the room, the eyes on that black velvet Jesus followed. Even in the dark, with nothing but a candle and a flashlight lighting the room, his shiny gold halo glowed, and his eyes followed. The picture was about to fall, and Mama was about to lose her mind. For the first time in my whole life, I felt unsafe in a place where I'd always known that no matter what, I was going to be safe. Daddy grabbed hold of the picture and took it down from the wall, real careful-like. He sat it up on top of the gym floor table next to the leftover jambalaya and birthday cake. About 50 bottles of water were standing in a row like soldiers keeping watch. Seeing black velvet Jesus lying there with Mama's food all around him gave me an unsettling feeling. For years, Jesus had been hanging high on the wall, always watching over us. And now he was lying flat on the table, with us, looking down at him. I fought the feeling of wanting to pick him up and stand him upright. I wondered how Jesus would feel about being surrounded by leftovers stuffed into plastic baggies and half-eaten blue birthday cake practically sitting on top of his head. After a while, the constant whipping of the swirling wind and pounding rain caused a quiet calm to fall over the inside of our house. My eyes got heavier and heavier until I couldn't keep them open no more. Howling winds interrupted that peaceful feeling when the nighttime hum turned to shrieking crashes and rattles just past midnight. The house was swaying. Part of the roof was flapping and slapping in the gusty, roaring wind. I thought for sure that the roof was going to let go. We all sat squished together on the sofa, listening to the wind wail, watching the flicker of a candle make crazy, scary shadows dance across the walls and ceiling. The house shuddered and moaned with noises that made us all shut up like we was waiting to see if something was fixing to fall and bury us alive. I sat there knowing that something was coming. Maybe next time a tree was going to fall and crush us instead of a truck. I couldn't help but wonder if the roof got pulled off, would we get sucked out? Mima was humming church hymns. The sound made my eyes droopy. It was a nice sound, a familiar sound. Mima had the best hum this side of the Mississippi River. With my eyes closed and Cricket breathing heavy on top of my belly, I started to fall asleep with Celie pressed up against me. The rain fell from the sky like marbles, and the wind whooshed through the house like the walls were made of cheesecloth instead of drywall. Minutes felt like hours, hours felt like days. Crashing sounds, popping sounds, something getting crushed. Each time I'd hold my breath, close my eyes, and wait for it to pass. I hugged my knees and rocked myself, trying to ignore the rush of wind and rain slapping everything I knew to bits. Our house never felt smaller. The darkness slowly changed from black to gray. As the room grew lighter, the more settled and quiet we all got. The only sleep I grabbed was right before the sun came up. I just knew once the sun started shining and we were out of the dark, everything would be all right. But that feeling of peace came to a quick end.